Welcome to my transitional writing episode. If you guys don't know who I am, I'm Jenna, and I make science fiction and fantasy books and videos about writing. So, what do I mean by a transitional writing episode? Well, as you guys might have seen, I had a whole series of videos, writing episodes, of my journey writing Spaceborne, my adult science fiction space opera that is currently in the Query trenches. So, it's time now for me to start writing another book. And I was going to just jump straight in and make another series, but I realized we kind of needed a bit of a transition between the old writing episode series and the new one, because I don't know what book I'm writing, but I wanted to update you guys on the fact that I don't know what book I'm writing. I told like social media, like Twitter and NaNoWriMo.com, that I was writing my Evil Queen Whip, which if you guys don't know is I don't know if it's gonna be adult or YA quite yet. It could fall into either. I think I need to write the story before like I find out what it is. But it's about an evil queen who is currently taking over a bunch of kingdoms surrounding hers, trying to lift a curse put on her land, but her advisors know that she's dying, and so they want her to produce an heir. So that means, guess what? Arranged marriage. And so it's about her arranged marriage and her conquest over the surrounding kingdoms, trying to lift the curse on her kingdom. It is super dark. It has a disabled rep, own voices for my condition in my legs, and it is just, it's literally a book idea that came to me in a dream. Like, I was in between that state of awake and sleeping, and the entire idea for the book just laid out in front of me. I think I got the idea about a year ago. I was still working on Spaceborne, so I didn't dive into it that much, and I realized too recently as I was diving into the book that I actually outlined the entire thing about 6 months ago, so I have an outline already ready. I know the characters already, the entire plot and the atmosphere and everything came to me in a dream, but of course that's not the book my brain wants to write right now. It happened with the same thing with my Highland Dreams whip. That book, for those of you who don't know, is basically a what if instead of a princess was in a tower, what if it was a witch? And so it's basically a story about how the most powerful witches in all the land are kept in towers because their powers are too much for mortals and they could be very terrifying. And it's all about this girl who wants to save the surrounding clans, because it's based in Scottish myth and legend. So she needs to go find a goddess who they thought was long gone. So she has to leave her tower with the assassin who tried to kill her and her best friend who's been guarding her in her entire life, and sort of set out on a quest to go and find this lost goddess and bring back autumn before winter claims the summery lands and they don't have a harvest. Scottish, it's a little bit like Tangled in the whole like climb the tower, but not like as a thief in Tangled, not like a prince in the original story, but as an assassin who's out to fucking kill you. So that's what that story is, and I was originally going to write that story after Spaceborne, but then Evil Queen Whip started calling to me, so I started working on that, and now I'm working on Evil Queen Whip, but then another story is calling to me, so now I'm actually working on that. So this is a transitional video basically saying that writing episodes are going to be strange because I don't know what book I'm working on. Currently my Spaceborne book, it has a couple agents still have not responded to me. I'm going to start doing nudges at the start of October and see if any get back to me. According to Query Tracker, I think I'm in one agent's maybe pile, and one agent did request my stuff from PitMad, so we're still waiting on that. I did get a very nice rejection from an editor who liked my PitMad pitch, and she said, you know, like my writing's compelling and the, you know, story was really interesting and stuff. It was just, there was some things she was confused about in the story, and me personally, I was like, I don't really see that, and I sent it to a friend and she really didn't see that, so writing's subjective. But that's where Spaceborne sits. Writing episodes aren't going to be just about one book, I feel like, for a little bit. I would like to have just a clear cut, this series is about this one, this series is about this one, but right now I am not on deadline for anything. I have a lot of story ideas, so I think I'm just going to play around with other ideas. So you might in vlogs see me like jumping between a lot of different stories, and I wanted you to have a place where you could go to understand what these different projects I was working on was. So this is the place. Those are some of the whips. Now I have another one that is completely non-marketable, like it's not marketable at all. I could not sell this to anybody. And hint hint, I don't plan to do this book traditionally because of that very reason, but we'll get to that announcement later on. But unfortunately, it's of course the one that my brain wants to work on the most, which is frustrating because it's just so like not marketable in the traditional sense, and I never planned to do like self-publishing or anything. So this book is getting a special treatment. It's not getting either one, and again, we'll do a full announcement about that when the book is further along, but right now it is still in the planning process, but it's all my brain can think about. And so I'm trying to lean into my inspiration rather than fight it right now, because again, I don't have an agent, I don't have deadlines with people. This is that magical point in the writing process where like I get to explore, and so I'm exploring multiple different projects right now. And so the other book is my Viking family whip, and if you might have seen it on Twitter, if you follow me there, link down below. But it has dragons and Scandinavian folklore and Norse mythology and old gods and elves. And elves are the thing that's not marketable, but elves are a huge part of Norse myth, and they're a huge part of Norse paganism, and I just really wanted to lean into all of that and not try to make it more like I don't know, like tasteful for traditional senses, because that's just not what Norse mythology is. So basically my Viking family whip definitely is sort of a veneration and a nod and a love letter to my Scandinavian roots. I'm gonna do a whole video about my DNA journey and everything, but I found out I'm super Scandinavian, specifically Swedish, and I have like a thick, deep root and ancestry with that, and a really deep connection to that. My sister is Norse pagan. I'm something else entirely. Maybe we'll do a whole video about my whole spiritual journey too, who knows. Let me know if you're interested. But yeah, so it's kind of my love letter to that, and it is basically about a shield maiden who is an elf, and so she's a Viking elf, and she is basically trying to save the world, but she has a disaster family. She has just this really crazy family. She has just an endless amount of half siblings that keep popping out of fucking nowhere. She doesn't even know who half of them are. And so she is a super interesting character because her being is entirely revolved around her disaster family. And she has a very interesting love story that I want to dive into as well. So I haven't figured out the entire plot of things yet, but I have like a 10-20 page document of world building and outlining and stuff. Not too much yet, but there's a lot of it that's still in my head that needs to go down on paper, and it's all my attention is going towards right now. Just because it's the thing that's like most intriguing to me, of course, the one thing that's not marketable. It's what I'm currently working on at this very moment, and I want to tell you guys about it. So the only other whip that I think I can talk about right now is my Secret Dark Fantasy. I've had this one in my brain for a while, but it just feels like a NaNoWriMo book. I don't know why. Unless it's around NaNoWriMo, I don't feel like writing it that often. I think it's because it's very spooky season in that book. It's definitely, you know, there's blood witches and heists and one elf. There's one elf, damn it, and I know that's gonna kill it when I try to fucking publish it, but people don't like elves. I don't know why. I love elves, okay? There's a single elf. Let me have my single elf in this book. So because of that one elf, unfortunately, though, the book is sort of on the back burner at the moment. I might try to do it for NaNoWriMo. I'm still trying to figure out whether or not it's dual POV, and if it is dual POV, like I think, if it's third person, first person, what's going on with that. All of these books are also adult except for my Evil Queen whip. It might be YA, I'm not sure yet. And then I have one more whip that I have only talked to my friend Devin about over on Twitter, and I'm keeping it really close to my chest because this is my love letter to Finnish mythology, and it's super duper marketable actually. It might be YA, it might be adult, I'm not sure yet. But the concept of it is super catchy, and I know if I say it, someone is going to steal it. I just have a gut instinct that that's going to happen. even with just the hashtag I came up with it, I can't even tell you guys that because that gives so much of it away. So that's going to be a book I think I work on the side. I'm not going to tell anyone about it until it's about ready to query because I don't want anyone to get the jump on me because I'm not planning to fully dive into that book for some time now. But it's super angsty. It is very villain redemption arc, main character corruption arc, and they're in love kind of thing, and it's based on Finnish mythology. So that's the most I will say. It's a love letter to my Finnish roots. It is super exciting. And in case you didn't know, no, Finland is not part of Scandinavia. It is Nordic. It is not actually Scandinavia. So they're completely different there. They have a completely different language dialect, and it's not the same. That's what that book is. I can't tell you guys anything else about it though, because again, I really feel like someone's gonna steal that idea from me, and it came to me and it was one of those ideas that just like hit me like a fucking train, and it has not left me alone since. So I cannot wait to work on that one. But honestly, I'm kind of just letting the ideas take me where they want to go right now, and I'm really enjoying that fact because now I get to work on this super not marketable idea rather than focusing on trying to make my books marketable. On a scale, the most marketable book I think is my Evil Queen Whip, which is why I wanted to lean into that one, but unfortunately that's not where my brain wants to go right now. My next most marketable idea I think is my whip that I cannot give you the hashtag of. That one is I think my next most marketable one, and then after that I think it's my Highland Dreams whip, and then probably my Secret Dark Fantasy, and then my Viking Family whip. So of course the least marketable one is the one I want to work on right now, and I think that's okay because I have ideas for it and how you guys will be able to read it hopefully soon. I'm not gonna again say anything about it too much because things might change, but when the time comes there will be a whole announcement video about it, just so you're aware for the future. And those are the projects that I'm working on right now. I'm not sure whether or not we'll do more of these transitional videos if I haven't narrowed down on which whip I want to work on full time. But for right now I'm enjoying the process of playing in different worlds and figuring out they might not be different worlds. And that's to say that basically Viking Family Whip, Evil Queen Whip, my Secret Dark Fantasy, and my Highlands Dream Whip, they all take place in the same world, and in my mind eventually one day there might be like a Marvel-esque crossover between the characters, because they have like a lot of crossover in their backstories that like you don't know about really when you're reading it, and like only I know. But that's like a far off plan, especially because like with Viking Family, again, probably not going to be traditionally published because it's elves. Which actually, I have a story attached to that. I was working on a very similar book that had elves, and it basically that was the only thing that was similar, honestly. It had elves. It was a high fantasy with elves, and I was in my creative writing program in college, and they had actual agents come in to listen in as our professor read our first chapters aloud, and basically they just put their hands up when they said they would pass. So like if they got 3 sentences in and by 3 sentences they would pass, they put their hand up, and as soon as a couple of the agents did that, she would stop reading. And so and then afterwards they would tell them why they passed. So she started reading my first chapter, and I think they got the longest into there out of most of my classmates at all. I can't 100% remember. I just remember being like horrified they were reading my writing aloud. They got really far into mine and I was like super proud. But then as soon as it was mentioned that the characters that were interacting were elves, all 5 of the agents raised their hands at the same time simultaneously, guys. I was so horrified. I was like, what do you mean elves aren't marketable? I did not know at the time like publishing at all, and then I found out later like elves are just not a fucking thing. They just made them fae in the YA market, and that's how they got away with it. So elves are not a thing in traditional publishing. So that's why we're going a different route with that I'll talk about later. But I wanted to tell you guys that story just so you know where I'm sitting with my elf ideas. That's where I'm gonna be for I think a little bit now, until something happens with Spaceborne possibly, and I'll hopefully be able to tell you guys about that sometime soon, if anything happens with it. But it's gonna happen. I'm trying to be positive. I'm trying to put good manifestations into the air and everything, but it is the query trenches, so it is kind of hard to work on different books, and I feel like that's another reason why I'm flip-flopping between different projects. And, you know, my brain's telling me, oh, work on the marketable ideas because that'll get you an agent faster, and my other part of my brain and my heart is going, but these other books, and like this might be the only time you get to work on non-marketable projects, because if you do get an agent later, like you're gonna run out of time, you know, you're gonna have to focus on things that they can actually publish first. And so I'm very split in two at the moment. But I wanted to tell you guys where I'm at and fill you guys in on what's been going on in my writing life. And let me know if you want a personal life update at some point. I don't know what I would say in that one necessarily, but do leave me your questions down below, whether that be writing or life related, and I will possibly make a part 2 of a transitional writing blog, writing episode, and answer your questions and throw in some life tidbits in there as well. As for Spaceborn, we're going to not talk about it. But you guys are free to still ask me questions, and then I will talk about it, but on my own. As I flounder through the query trenches, we will see how it goes. And I'll let you know when I can let you know. However, I will just plug down below that my Patreon will hear all about it first, before you guys do. So if you guys want to sign up for my Patreon, that will be where some fun things are releasing in the future, and you will get to know first all of the book things. It's also where you can ask me more personal questions that you don't want to put out into the comment section. You can DM me, and I will give you my full honest answer in the privacy of my Patreon. But that's it from me today, I think. So do leave down your questions down below for the next writing episode. I will let you guys know whether or not it'll be a transitional writing episode or a full-on writing episode in a new series soon. Give this video a big old thumbs up if you did like it. And remember to subscribe because I make writing and com related videos every Friday. But I'm gonna go now, so bye!